Hi, welcome to The Flip. This is our second episode, and we're going to start it off with our featured artist, Nick Richardson.
She, a thornless rose, and he, wild-minded. When he saw her, he froze. Time seemed frozen, empty, endlessly winded. In front of her, he couldn't speak. She, in front of him, couldn't blink. When around her, he felt strong, not weak. She, when around him, couldn't sink. On the inside, he was reckless. She, on the inside, was weakened. On the outside, he was powerless. On the outside, she was enlightened. At home, he was secluded. At home, she was lonesome. At school, of his possessions, he was denuded. At school, she was halesome. She, a thornless rose, and he, wild-minded. When he saw her, he froze. Time seemed frozen, empty, endlessly winded.
All right, we got Nick in the studio today. He's talking about his poem. What's it called again?
A Thornless Rose.
All right, can you tell me a little bit about it?
Well, a thornless rose it's basically the meeting of a boy and a girl, and obviously within the poem they start liking each other. So it's like kind of a story but poetic. The meaning behind it is that there are these times in life that they just happen out of nowhere, and these moments can be so valued by a person. They're one of the most important moments in one's life.
What type of emotions did you put into writing this piece?
I put a lot of sensational feelings, like, for example, getting butterflies in your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody knows that. It does have some sad parts in there, but, like, they're very subtle.
Well, I really like the story aspect of all of this. I'm happy that you're here on the podcast with us. It's really an honor to have you, as it is for everybody. And
it's been an honor being on this, and thank you for inviting me.
Hi, welcome to The Flip. This is Ian.
This is Cassie. This is Adrian.
This is Allie.
This is Angelo.
And this is the official AAA podcast as of, this current second?
It's official.
October 25th, 2018. All
yeah.
right. So what is the topic of today?
Well, today we're going to be talking about what it's like to have creative block, as in like having writer's block, but how that kind of translates into different kinds of art. Because I don't think that's something we really talk about. I think that there is an artist's block for everybody, but it is vastly different just because of like the different mediums you're using it with. Do you think there's like a difference between like you're like stuck on a project, or do you think it's like you can't create something new? Do you think that there's a difference between that?
I think there is a difference between that.
So which one would you define as like...
Well, there's both. That's the thing. There's two different things. One is when you basically just have no motivation to create at that moment in time. The other is when you have so much motivation to create, yet you can't.
You just don't have the ability
Yeah, you just don't have the ability to.
Which is a lot harder.
Because
if you have no motivation, it's not going to crush you as much.
Yeah,
you know
it's
what
extremely
I mean?
frustrating.
Where do you think that lack of motivation sort of comes from?
I feel
Your own head.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of writer's block is maybe not even a lot. I just feel like having a creative block can sometimes be caused by not knowing how other people are going to perceive what you're doing. Like if you're trying a new painting technique or a new dance move, and so you're not necessarily confident in it, so then you kind of lose motivation.
Different.
Yeah, I think
because like I think the difference is more that you can't even get to the new thing. Like you can't even figure out what the new thing is.
Yeah, like writer's block is when you have something down and you physically can't write anything down.
Yeah.
You can't keep creating that same thing, and it's just finding a new way of doing things. Basically, that's the key to overcoming it. Is just like finding a new, I guess you could say, routine.
I think it's like it comes a lot when you've been an artist for a while and you have like a lot of things to fall back on, but they're not original. They're already things you've already done. Exactly. You can't find something new. I mean, you're sitting there and you're so frustrated because you're like, I want to make something, but I can't. So I think that is not common, and for like people who are just starting out in like a new thing, like a new medium. Like if you're just now trying to do theater, or you're just trying to do I don't know, anything else than what you're used to, then it's not as common because everything is new. So everything is more creative. But if you're falling back into like something that you're comfortable with, but you feel like you can't make anything new, then that's kind of what I think it would be.
Yeah, because it's whenever you, for instance, if you were to walk up to a piano and you don't know how to play anything, there's a chance that you will find something or figure something out that someone who's been playing for 20 years wouldn't, because how can you know what the rules are, or how can you break the rules if you don't know what they are? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't know how that ties back to it at all, but yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like the lack of motivation could also be like you don't have a lot of confidence in your work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say earlier. It was
I
just
see
that,
what you're
like,
saying, yeah.
like you don't really have like confidence in like what you're doing.
I mean, it's very common for you to have like a creative block if you are not confident about your work, but I also think sometimes it just happens. Like,
Right.
there is also, it's not like something's wrong with you, like you're not confident, you're not doing this. Like sometimes it's just.
I also feel like having confidence in yourself, I feel like that can sometimes come from comparing your work to other people's work in the given art that you're doing. All art is just kind of like drawing inspiration from like different things and different events that happen to people's lives. And I feel like sometimes somebody can lose confidence in their self if they're thinking, I want to create this piece of art, but this other person did something similar, so I can't do this.
I feel like it's more of you think that they can do it better. Like you see
Yeah,
someone
so
doing
it
the
goes
same
back
kind
into,
of
like,
thing
the
that you're doing.
confidence.
Yeah, you see someone doing the same kind of thing you're doing, same sort of route you're going, and they're doing better than you are, or at least you think they are.
Right.
So then it's just it's almost a way of putting yourself down, and honestly it kind of keeps you in check from growing an ego in
Right.
a way.
Which can be a good thing or a bad thing, just depending on.
It's a good
Right.
and a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because
Double-edged sword.
right.
There you go.
Yeah, because you don't want to have too big of an ego and be arrogant in yourself, but also you want to have enough confidence in yourself to be able to create.
Yeah.
Whoa, we're so philosophical.
And sometimes you just have to. Sometimes being narcissistic isn't the worst thing in the world.
Right.
Sometimes being like, "Hey, I'm pretty good." That's the PG version of what I was gonna say and had in my mind. But yes.
So how do you think all that carries over into like different mediums of?
So I feel like just me expressing myself and how I dress and how I act is just sort of like an art piece. Just I don't know. That's just like
No,
what I
that's
think.
true. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
I
all.
definitely
Hence
I
the,
definitely enjoy
Oh, yeah,
your
he's wearing neon
sense of
earrings.
style because
Oh yeah, wait, talk about your sense of style.
every day I see you and it's always something new, and I feel like even if you're expressing yourself in your appearance, that's still some sort of creative outlet for you.
Well, fashion.
Yeah, well, fashion can definitely
let's
be.
talk about your fashion because
my
it's
fashion
actually
sense?
so
Oh,
iconic.
Do you
Yes.
guys want fashion? I'm
Yeah,
wearing,
fashion sense.
I'm wearing glow stick earrings right
Yeah,
now.
and
It's
he
awesome.
always shows up. He's wearing shorts and
Cargo
pajama
shorts
over
bottoms.
pajama bottoms. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Did we mention that in the last episode?
All right, now we have another student to talk about creative block from a different perspective.
With theater, it's basically whenever you want to take your character in a certain direction and you don't necessarily know where to start, maybe because that character is so different from you, or maybe because you don't really understand the language of the play if you're doing something from Shakespeare or anything like that. And it's a lot of internalizing, putting yourself in that person's shoes, which can get very disturbing depending on who you're playing. But it's a lot.
Yeah,
And
yeah. What do you do to like overcome that? Get past trying to figure out.
Well, as with writer's block, it's obviously different for everybody. But something that I like to do, just because I have been doing music for a long time as well, is I go through songs in my playlist and I listen in depth to the lyrics of all of them, and I try to see if I can connect lyrics to a character.
Oh, cool. It's like connecting to different mediums.
Yeah. It's a little harder whenever you're doing a classic piece, but it's very insightful, I guess, because it makes it a lot easier to think about, okay, if I were being this character, what would they be feeling while listening to this? Would they connect to this or would they not? And if they wouldn't, gotta cut that out.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Any other things you want to say kind of about what it's like to be in theater and how that applies to creative block?
It's a lot more work than people seem to think. A lot of people seem to think, oh, the hardest thing an actor has to do is memorize lines or memorize blocking or fit into their costume just right. And those are hard things, definitely. You have to be very emotionally strong for it, because whenever you're putting yourself in another person's shoes, depending on what that character is going through, if you dive in too deeply into that, it could cause a lot of...
You mean like empathy? Like you feel...
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Of course.
We really appreciate it. We definitely want to hear from all different perspectives of artists.
Yeah,
really
of course. Thank you
that.
so much.
Yeah, all right. Thank you.
Hey guys, welcome back to The Flip. We're talking about what it's like to have artist block.
So we're just going to open the discussion. I kind of wanted to touch on, we talked about what kind of causes people to have artist block. We didn't really talk about, things we can do to overcome it as much. So one thing I wanted us to talk about was the environment that artists need in order to feel more open to creating. Any thoughts on that?
I guess a main thing that all artists sort of just have in common is that they want constructive criticism, I believe, and they want to be judged, but fairly.
Personally, it would be nice to have sort of an audience to respond to me, to my art.
Rather than just you making it and
and hoping someone sees it. It would be nice to have like a sort of group that you can share your stuff with.
Like other artists or just like people to
other artists
it?
Or just people, like random people.
Mm-hmm.
Have I guys ever, I guess, like, for what I have to say on the subject, like, have I guys ever told you about Creative Haven?
No.
It was like this little club I tried starting last year. It was like a group.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was a group of artists, writers, musicians, all of these other mediums and stuff, and you bring them together.
That's like basically the school.
Yeah, it's basically the school, except like, like you had one little seminar, and then you would like have everyone look at one object, and they either have to write about it, draw it, or make a song or something like that, something that relates to the object. And so they all have a common goal. In the seminar time, you'd find people to find projects to work on with and stuff like that. So it's not like...
Did it work out? Like, did you guys know a lot of
no.
people?
Everybody had their own classes and their own like schedules and stuff, and everybody had a job, and everybody... It was like...
Oh, no.
It was like, we got a group chat started, and we were sharing art with each other and sharing different stories and stuff like that. Yeah, it was nice, yeah. And then it was like, I don't know, people just, it didn't get beyond that. I couldn't organize it. So.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I mean, like, now you're here, so.
I'm thinking about starting it again, but like, I don't.
That actually might be a good idea to have a group chat just to like share your work with other people.
Hey, thanks for listening to the second episode of The Flip. If you'd like to be a featured artist or you have any comments, questions, or concerns, send us an email at aaapodcastteam@gmail.com or send us a DM on Instagram. We're really excited for our next episode, but for now, I'm Allie, and
we'll see you on the flip!